You ever wake up on the other side of the world, check your phone, and realize your whole life's being bulldozed in real time by someone who makes Nurse Ratched look like a Girl Scout? Yeah, well, that was me in Tel Aviv, just minding my business, neck deep in a security contract, when my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. Your pond is being drained as we speak, the text said. And you know what? I could almost hear the smirk in Carol Henderson's voice through the lousy Wi-Fi. I opened my security app, and there she was, Carol in all her HOA glory, standing in my backyard with two pump trucks pointing at my father's $30,000 koi pond like she'd just discovered gold. She actually waved at the camera. Thought she'd won too. Dead wrong, Carol. You don't just steal from a guy who grew up with a Green Beret for a dad. Now let me back up a sec. Before we get to the main event, the nuclear option, as my crew called it, you gotta understand the kind of menace we were dealing with. Carol stood about 5'2" in heels, but in terms of tyranny, she towered over the whole damn neighborhood. Last month, she fined old Mrs. Johnson, an 85-year-old widow, $500 for having grass 1 inch too tall. When Mrs. Johnson tried to explain her arthritis, Carol just flashed that cold crocodile smile and said, "Rules are rules." Maybe it's time you considered assisted living. Left the poor woman crying on her porch, and Carol just clicked her heels to the next victim. That same week, she forced a 78-year-old vet to sell his home because his service dog barked twice, called it noise pollution, threatened him with $10,000 in fines. She fined a family with an autistic kid for disruptive behavior after a meltdown in their own backyard, and shut down a disabled vet's taco truck because apparently tacos threaten property values now. Monday, she'd patrol with a ruler, a level, and a phone camera, measuring, snapping, documenting like CSI Suburbia. Our peaceful neighborhood turned into a surveillance state, and Carol, she was queen. Now, the day I left for Israel, I sat by the pond my dad built. Not just a water feature, a work of art man with Japanese filters and LED lights that turned dusk into magic. I'd buried a waterproof box on the northern edge last year, my dad's medals photos from Vietnam, and a letter he wrote me before he died. I told him I'd be back soon. Should have known nothing gold stays. Going somewhere. Jake. That's how Carol greeted me at my own back gate, clipboard out pen like a weapon. 3 weeks in Israel. Security consulting, I grumbled. Try not to burn the place down while I'm gone. She wandered toward the pond, eyeing it like a wolf. You know, I've been reviewing the HOA bylaws, especially Code 247.3 water features impacting insurance premiums. I almost laughed. There was no such code. Doesn't exist, Carol, I shot back. It will by the time you get home, she replied, all sugar and venom. Enjoy your trip. I'll be watching your property closely. She lingered, snapping photos, kneeling to inspect my dad's handiwork. Quite an expensive setup. Must be worth a fortune. Gave me chills, but I had a plane to catch. Fast forward 2 days, Tel Aviv. I'm in the middle of a high-stakes meeting talking corporate espionage when my phone starts buzzing like I'd set it on a beehive. 5 notifications, then 10. I excuse myself, step out on a balcony overlooking the Mediterranean, and boom, there's Carol barking orders to a construction crew. Drain it completely. And dig here, she says, pointing right at my dad's memorial box. I saw him bury something last year. The construction guy hesitates. This is private property. But Carol cuts him off. I'm the law here. I nearly snapped my phone in half. I called my best friend Mike. Code red, man. She's destroying Dad's pond. Silence. Then a string of curses. I'm on it, Jake. I'll get documentation from the construction guys. Meet you at the airport. I grabbed the first flight home, replaying that footage over and over, the pond, draining the koi flopping in the mud, Carol's smug grin. Next day, I was staring into a muddy pit where my father's masterpiece had been. Filters gone rocks, tossed like garbage. My dad's medals and letter vanished. 30 years of love wiped out in a morning. Carol strolled over, smiling. Welcome back. Code violation's been addressed. You'll get the remediation bill soon. I forced myself not to lose it. Where are my father's medals, Carol? She just shrugged, feigned innocence, and waltzed off, adding, the emergency HOA meeting next week will introduce new rules about memorials. Some people can't let go of the past. Clear as day, she was coming for everything. I met Mike at Murphy's bar, where every wall's covered in military memorabilia and nobody asked questions. He slid an invoice across the table: removal and recovery of assets. $15,000 for the filter, $8,000 for the lights, $5,000 for the oxygenation system. She didn't just destroy it, Mike said. She stole it and sold it. The credit went to her company, not the HOA. That's grand theft, plain and simple. Mike's a lawyer. He knew what he was looking at. We can prove it was yours, Jake. Serial numbers, purchase records. She gave us a paper trail. Just then, Tony slid into the booth. Construction guy lived 3 houses down. Heard what that witch did to your pond. She wrecked my business last year. $500K contract gone because she fined me for a work truck 2 inches over the property line. 2 inches. Sarah, former HOA board member, joined us. She tried to bring transparency. Carol forced her out. Did you know she changed the bylaws so she can spend $50,000 without board approval? Sarah whispered. That bridge project, her husband's pushing. Carol's been bragging about getting a cut, leveraged everything to get in. Mike and I exchanged glances. This was bigger than my pond. Sarah had evidence: photos, financial projections, emails showing Carol and her husband funneling money through shell companies tied to the $50 million bridge project. If the bridge fails, they lose everything, Sarah said. Tony added, my company was asked to bid. I've still got contacts. Suddenly things got real. Sarah remembered she still had admin access to old HOA email servers. Carol had been too sloppy, never revoked it. We split up, Mike digging through financials, Tony working his construction contacts, Sarah combing emails, and me documenting Carol's pattern of abuse. What we found was stunning concrete quoted at triple the real price, steel beams inflated by hundreds of thousands, shell companies all leading back to Carol's mother's house. Only catch, her mother had died 6 months earlier. Shell companies run out of a dead woman's home. How's that for audacity? Mike found another company tied to Tony's wife. Tony's wife barely speaks English. Trusted Carol signed some beautification forms that turned out to be corporate documents. Carol had used Maria's name to make it look legit. Now Tony's family was at risk. Then the threats started. Blocked numbers. You have a nice family, shame if anything happened. Tony's voice wavered, but his wife said, if we don't stop these people now, who will? That settled it. We were all in. Our little squad became an army as neighbors started coming forward with their own stories. Bogus fines, threats, discrimination. We worked day and night building the case. Maria, Tony's wife, used her graphic design skills to make a presentation that hit like a freight train. 5 days later, the city council meeting was packed. Carol and her husband strutted in thinking they owned the place. 3 mob-looking guys behind them. Mike stood up, announced Pinnacle Investment was pulling all funding from the bridge project due to fraud. The room exploded. Mike and Tony presented the evidence side by side, quotes, inflated bids, shell companies registered to Carol's dead mom. Sarah stood and dropped the hammer, reading off emails Carol never thought anyone would find. I played a recording of Carol bragging at an HOA party, once the bridge deal goes through, we'll own this city. The Russians are backing us. The 3 goons shifted in their seats. Then the door flew open, FBI agents, badges out. Nobody leaves. We're executing warrants for fraud, racketeering, money laundering. Carol went from white to green, then tried to pin it all on me. He started this. Check his record. The lead agent barely looked at her. Destroying property isn't rule enforcement. It's theft. Aftermath. The bridge project died overnight. News cameras swarmed the neighborhood. Carol and her husband were perp-walked on live TV. Sarah took over as HOA president, reversed every fine Carol had issued, and passed new rules for transparency. Carol tried to countersue, but Sarah dug up even more emails, contracts with Eastern European crime syndicates, emails plotting to seize properties, orders to drain the Bennett Pond while he's in Israel. My pond had been a piggy bank to fund their buy-in with a criminal cartel. Carol's husband flipped on her at trial. Jury was out less than 2 hours, guilty on all counts: racketeering, fraud, conspiracy, theft, destruction of property. Judge gave her 25 years. 6 months later, my father's pond was rebuilt, better than ever. The neighborhood pitched in, engineers, construction crews, kids planting flowers. We held a dedication, my dad's medals shining in the sun, laughter echoing where silence used to be. Sarah raised a toast to Dad to standing up for what's right to the squad that took down an empire. Sun setting, water flowing, everyone together. But you know, as sweet as that victory felt, there's always a shadow. Carol's friends are still out there. Some neighbors whisper that we went too far. Others say we didn't go far enough. That's the thing about justice. There's never an easy answer. So let me ask you, if this was your neighborhood, would you fight back or just move away? Drop your thoughts below, because honestly, I'm dying to hear. Where do you draw the line between community and controlled justice and revenge? Let's hear it.